Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Borderlands video, and today I'm going to be going over the skill trees for Flak, the Beastmaster in Borderlands 3. Gonna show you guys what I think is going to be the setup for him, and since apparently he is the most popular character so far, I figured you guys might be interested, so let's get started. The first thing we have to talk about is his action skill, and the one we're going to be using is Fadeaway. What Fadeaway normally does is that it makes you invisible for 15 seconds and lets you shoot 3 times before you break stealth, and each of those shots are guaranteed to be crits no matter where you shoot an enemy. And those crits have a 200% damage bonus. While you're invisible, you also gain some health regen and move speed. Now, as good as that is, what we're going to want is this augment, Gorillas in the Mist. Godlike name, by the way. What this does is that it cuts the duration to 8 seconds and it reduces the bonus crit damage to 50%, but it doesn't break stealth after 3 shots. You can keep shooting as much as you want as long as you're invisible for the entire duration of the cloak, and that's what we're focusing the entire build around. So our objective is to stay in our action skill for as long as possible and use it as often as possible and increase our crit damage as much as possible. So let's start with the green tree. This is also where we're going to get our pet. We're going to be using the Jabber. While the Jabber is our pet, we gain increased move speed, which is great because Flak has a lot of abilities that increase his move speed as well. So we're just going to be zooming, dude.
I don't think you have any idea how fast I really am. I'm fast as fuck, boy!
In the first row, we're going to want to put 5 points into Furious Attack. What this does is give us a stack whenever we damage an enemy that increases our gun handling and gun damage. We then want to put 5 points into Eager to Impress, which is a kill skill that reduces our action skill cooldown whenever we get a kill, and it increases it even further whenever our pet is the one that gets a kill. You then want to put 5 points into Overclocked, which increases our fire rate by 10%, and after a reload, it'll increase it by another 10%, basically giving you free 20% more fire rate, which is always nice. I then put a point into Lick the Wounds, and although this is optional, I really like this skill. There have been so many times in Borderlands where I'm using a rocket launcher while I'm in Fight for Your Life to kill an enemy and get myself back up, and then when I kill them, I instantly kill myself again with the rocket launcher. Or maybe I kill an enemy, but in the process one of us blew up a barrel, and then you have an electric proc on you or you're on fire, and then you die, and there are no more enemies left around you for you to revive yourself, and then you just actually end up dying. So having this makes it so that your monkey can just walk over if that ever happens and res you. I'm also just trash at the game, so of course I'm going to take a point into the skill. I then put a single point into Turn, Tail, and Run, simply to move down the tree. At this point we can also choose an evolution for our Jabber, and although I love the idea of a monkey companion that throws barrels at people, or an ape with a shotgun, the Gunslinger Jabber also has a rocket launcher, and it passively grants us increased crit damage, which we really want. So unless the radiation barrel from the base Jabber ends up being super strong, I'm going to go with the Gunslinger Jabber. Back to the skills, I'm going to max out Fast and Furious, slow clap by the way, and what this ability does is give us increased move speed and gun damage while we're above half health. Since we're going to be invisible most of the time, it means enemies won't be targeting us, which means they won't be shooting us, which means we won't be taking damage, which hopefully means we'll be above half HP. Not to mention that you also regenerate health while you're invisible, and we have that extra point in Turn, Tail, and Run, which gives us a bit of extra health regen on top of all that whenever we're moving. So even if you play it semi-right, you'll pretty much be above half HP most of the time, and you'll have this up along with it. All of that goes also hand in hand with the next skill in this row called Hidden Machine. We want to put 5 points into the skill because it gives us 30% more gun damage towards enemies that aren't targeting us. Now as Flak, you not only have a pet companion that splits the enemy aggro between you and your pet, you also are invisible most of the time, so enemies will not be targeting you, and thanks to Gorilla in the Mist, you'll be able to attack them as long as you want, so this skill is pretty much a must. After this, we'll also be able to take our second augment, Unblinking Eye. What this does is increase your critical damage by 75% every time you hit an enemy with a crit, and then resets after 3 hits. This is what's going to mainly get our damage back to Fadeaway's original 200% damage bonus. Essentially, your first crit while invisible will deal 125% damage, the initial 50 from Gorillas in the Mist, plus the 75% extra from Unblinking Eye. The second shot will then deal 200, the third shot will deal 275, and then the fourth will deal 125, and the cycle repeats, and so on and so on. And then finally we put a point into our capstone, the Power Inside, which increases the damage you and your pet deal by 25% whenever you use an action skill. However, if you use an action skill while you're at full health, that damage bonus jumps up to 50%. This effect lasts for 15 seconds, but Fadeaway only lasts 8 seconds with the augment on. So we're going to jump into the blue skill tree, the Master Tree. And here we're only going to pick up this one skill, Persistence Hunter, which increases our gun damage by 12% and our action skill duration by 45%, which would let our augmented Gorillas in the Mist fadeaway last a little over 11.5 seconds, so basically nearly 12 seconds in our invisibility with the full effect of the power inside proc, along with every other buff that we're getting, which is really strong. With the remainder of our points, we're going to go down the Hunter tree and pick up any and all skills that involve critical hits. In the first row, we're going to max out Interplanetary Stalker, and what this bonus does is give you a stack whenever you kill an enemy that increases your overall damage dealt, but it also gives you a separate stack based on the type of enemy that you killed. If you kill a human, you'll get stacks that increase your action skill damage. However, I don't know if this will benefit us at all with this build, since our action skill simply makes us invisible. So I don't know if increased action skill damage means it'll increase the critical hit damage of fadeaway, but that remains to be seen. I don't think it will, but even then, you still want the skill for all the other benefits that it gives you. If you kill a robotic enemy, it'll give you stacks that increase your corrosive damage, which, if you're already using corrosive damage to kill robot, then this will just help you kill other robots that are nearby that much quicker. And if you kill a beast, a creature, a monster, you'll get stacks that grant you a decent amount of move speed. We then want to max out Leave No Trace and Head Count. The former skill gives you a chance to return a bullet to your magazine on a critical hit. Not a kill, a critical hit. Which means that whenever we're in fadeaway and all of our shots are crits, we pretty much have a 1 in 3 chance of having all that ammo returned back into us, which can lead into some pretty devastating DPS chains. And the latter gives you a chance to reduce your action skill cooldown time whenever you land a critical hit. This, combined with Eager to Impress, is going to massively help in getting our fadeaway as often as possible. We then want to max out Two Fang, which makes a return in Borderlands 3, but it essentially works as multi-shot now. Basically, instead of Zero's Two Fang, which was just a chance of pulling the trigger twice essentially, now it just has a 25% chance to shoot an extra projectile whenever you shoot, which is great and has a lot of potential. And with our last 3 points, we can max out Big Game, which increases the effectiveness of our hunter skills like Furious Attack and Interplanetary Stalker by 30%, and it doubles their duration. I really wish I had an extra 2 points to unlock Galactic Shadow and pick it up as well, but if we have our 3 points into Persistence Hunter, we can't do that. At max rank, it gives you 12% more gun damage, but with 1 point in Galactic Shadow, which gives you 15% more crit, you essentially have 19% more damage. However, it is skewed towards only when you're in fadeaway or whenever you actually crit. So I guess it's up to you whether you want to give up that extra duration in fadeaway and a damage bonus that doesn't apply on non-crits for some extra crit damage potential. When the game comes out, I'll be able to do some DPS testing, but for now, it's still up in the air. Essentially, the way you want to play this build is going to be completely revolving around your action skill. Your neutral game is made up of kill skills basically, and during this time is pretty much the only time you'll ever be interacting with your pet. You'll want to score as many crits as possible for obvious reasons, but especially with flak because they will severely help in getting your fadeaway back sooner, and since the whole build is centered around that, you're gonna want it as often as possible. While you're in fadeaway, that's when you're gonna be able to clear a lot of enemies or whittle down a badass or chip away at a boss. Unless raid bosses in Borderlands 3 have specific mechanics which prevent you from utilizing your invisibility all that much or kind of negate the effects of it, or even if they have a lot of AoE attacks that can still clap you while you're invis, I think they're going to be a walk in the park for flak otherwise. The only other problem with this setup is that you're not supporting your pet at all, aside from some passive health regen. In fact, you are using him as an aggro bubble most of the time, so if they're useful, they might end up dying quite often, and therefore not be as useful. So we'll have to see how strong the pets really are when the game releases. Like I said, this definitely needs some testing, but I'd go with the first setup for now, and I'll also try my hand at a full-on pet-focused build because they invested so much into this mechanic for him that I honestly would be very surprised if it ended up being trash. So although all of this sounds amazing, the pets could end up surprising us, so it would be a shame if they didn't. But that about wraps up flak, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be a link in the description to all these builds in the description, as well as a link to my Discord where you guys can find top tier quality memes always. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll be doing Zane next since I'm a little late to this whole party and not many people are talking about Zane, and I honestly think he's going to be pretty OP. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a good weekend, and I will see y'all later. Take care.